Today we're going to go over another step in getting more fluent with cakes, pies, pastries in general. This is a fantastic dough to have in your back pocket anytime that you guys are working with something where you need to know a recipe off the top of the dome. This is one of those ones you can seriously impress with because it's really crazy easy to remember. All right. So the name of the product we're making today is Pate Au Choux. All right. Pate Au Choux is a French pastry dough. It'll be used primarily in making like cream puffs and eclairs. You can also use it in savory applications. If you wanted to mix cheese into this dough, you can make a really nice, like a cheese puff appetizer. Absolutely wonderful, like a little Gruyere cheese in there. Really nice hors d'oeuvre to sell. You can fill it with like a bechamel cream or whatever you like. Really cool savory applications. But today we're gonna make it sweet. All right, okay? So but first, the dough itself. This dough is going to be made unlike a lot of other doughs that you see out there. All right, specifically, it's cooked. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to start off with our fat and our liquid in the pan. Now, about the ratio behind me. All right. This ratio you can replace with anything you want. It is equal parts water, flour, and eggs, with half that in butter. Meaning, I'm using 8 ounces of water. I'll use 4 ounces of flour. So if I was going to use a quart of water, how much butter would I need? If a quart is 32 ounces, how many ounces? If I need half that volume, I need 16, right? So I'd say a quart of water, 16 ounces of butter, a quart of flour, and a quart of eggs. All right, it's the only thing that's always even with each other, right? We've built something like this before where we made a dough using the pie dough ratio. Anybody remember that ratio? We've made it about 100,000 times. 3, 2, 1, right? 3 parts what? Flour. 2 parts?
Water.
No? Fat. Right, and 1 part water. This one's easy to remember just the same. All right, if you need to bust something out really quick, water, butter, flour, and eggs. Okay. So into the pan. Into the pan, we're gonna put a cup of water. A cup of water is how heavy? How many ounces is a cup of water?
8.
8. Yep. So what's half of that?
4.
4. So I need 4 ounces of butter. All right. How many ounces in a block of butter? 16. Right.
Yeah.
16. So how do we find 4 ounces? Cut it in half. What's that?
That's good. That's 8.
2 eighths, right? Cut those in half. What do you got?
4.
Cut. 4 ounces of butter. In. All right. No need for a scale. We're gonna bring this. This is churro dough without the sugar. All right. Churro dough, for anybody who's had churros before, it's like a little pipe donut. Same thing, but with the addition of some turbinado sugar or granulated sugar right in the last step when you're adding your flour. That makes a much sweeter dough. This, I mean, if you eat it on your own, it just kind of tastes like eggs and flour, a little pancakey almost. But the idea here is we glaze it in chocolate, we fill it with sweet cream. It's a really nice together vessel. For those of you who can see it out of my pot, what I'm going for is I want to try and melt my fat, but I want to make sure that I don't lose too much water. So bring it up to a simmer. If we're getting steam, we're losing water, right? So I'll have less volume in there. In the meantime, let's prep what I need, all right? In my pot, I've already got a cup of water and 4 ounces of butter. Into this, I'm going to be adding some eggs. Edit that out. Where is it? You didn't see it. It's fine. You didn't see it. It's fine. Really weird egg there. All right. We're going to get 8 ounces of eggs. 8 ounces of eggs, about 4 eggs. Eggs normally weigh about a little over 1.5 ounces each. So we'll use 4 eggs for our recipe. This brings us up to what we need. All right. Right when this is melted is when I want to get started. All right. Second thing to go into this pot, essentially think of it like we're going to be cooking essentially a roux. All right. I'm going to get a cup of flour together. And right when my butter is melted all the way, I want to keep a good eye on this pot so I don't lose too much volume. I'm going to add my cup of flour. Just got a little nugget left over. I'm going to bring 2 pieces of equipment with me. I'm going to bring my spatula and my rubber spatula. Sorry, my whisk and my rubber spatula. That's going to make it so that I can whisk in the butter and flour. Once I get this all together with my flour, it should swell up. So we're essentially going to cook this flour off in our pan. Bring that together with a whisk. Whisk it up. Bring that together with a whisk. Sal, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Sal. All right. All right, back to business. All right, everybody, I've whisked my flour into my butter and my water, and I've come up with this kind of paste. At this point, the whisk isn't going to do me any good. I'm going to swap to my rubber spatula. Come on away, please, Jen. Come on, lads, with me. Just a couple minutes. All right, I'm going to start mixing this up, and I'm going to start cooking off my flour until it starts to make a really smooth dough inside. Can everybody see that okay? Once that nice smooth dough forms, I'm gonna cook off my flour a little bit. If I don't let that cook off, it's gonna make it so that my flour tastes a little bit gluey once baked. I wanna kind of cook that off, cook the starches off. So just like when we're making a roux, we're gonna let this toast for a little bit. All right, and I'm just gonna let this cool, just for a minute. We're gonna switch, once again, from the rubber spatula back to the whisk. Now my goal is here, I don't wanna make scrambled eggs, so I'm gonna let this cool down. I'm gonna let it cool down just by mixing it up lightly. Y'all see okay? At this point, if you wanna do something savory, you can mix in cheese, herbs, any bits to this work really nicely. This is also gonna be the base for if we're making a souffle, which we'll be making next week. At this point, we would add a puree of some kind, maybe like a raspberry puree, or we could do a bechamel sauce if we're making a savory, right? Any sauce added to this would make a souffle base that we'd then lighten with egg whites and bake to a really nice puffy consistency. All right, I'm gonna whisk this until I can basically get my bowl nice and clean. And I'm also cooling it down by mixing it. All right, now one at a time, you're gonna be adding your eggs into this pot. Make sure you're consistently stirring so that you don't wind up cooking your eggs like a scrambled egg. Just one egg at a time until you can't see it anymore. Can everybody see that overhead?
Yeah.
Cool. Come on, bunch it in if you can't see. Right? If you're making a really large batch, at this point I'll transfer it over to like a 20-quart mixer. Like if I'm making enough for making enough for all the zeppole we're cooking, I'll throw this into a mixer and add my eggs straight into that mix. Once it looks like it's kind of taking up my whisk, as in I've got this like thing in the middle here that I can't get rid of, I'm gonna transfer over to the rubber spatula again. All right, just kind of play your cards right, pick your tools as you go. This should get nice and smooth in consistency. All right, you guys can see it, the dough's starting to come together. The eggs have stopped breaking the dough itself. And I've got a nice put together consistency for my dough. You guys can all see that? Okay. So let's talk about the final bake. Dough couldn't be easier. It really helps to cook it when it's hot. It makes it fluffier, makes it move nicer. I've got a preset oven to 375 degrees. I'm gonna cook it for about 25 minutes at that level. Right, the easiest way to cook a cream puff is to pipe spheres. If you're doing a lot at the same time, you can basically use a cookie scooper. They work great. All right, but if you want to get a really, really nice shape and consistency, you can use different tips with this. You can pipe this into different sizes. A straight line, for instance, makes a really nice eclair. We made some of those last week, right? A donut will make a zeppole for this week, and in this case, we'll make some puffs for ourselves. So what we're gonna do is load the bag before we snip it. Yeah, it's not really messy. It shouldn't really be too loose. Now, this stuff is ×4. Meaning every time it goes into the oven, it'll be 4 times the size of when you pipe it out. So keep that in mind for your portion control on what you want your final product to look like. All right, I've set myself a nice rounded pastry pipe. I can get this any shape I want it to be. In this case, I'll just go straight into the spheres, the lines, and the zeppole. All right, so for a sphere, pick a spot about 1 inch off the board, start squeezing and don't move your hand. Don't move, 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 stop. That way you can get an actual circle, okay? So you're just gonna pick one spot about 1 inch over, pipe until the desired shape is done, and you're all set, okay? Secondly, eclairs, same thing, except you don't wanna pipe on an angle like this. You wanna pipe straight up and down. And then right when you get to the end, pull back. Pull back. All right, we'll do 3 of those, how about it? Try and get them as consistent as possible. All right, for the zeppole, we're looking to have something that has a hollow hole in the center. We're gonna pipe some circles, straight around, give it plenty of dough, and just whip it all the way around. Make sure it's connected, so overlap a little bit, otherwise they will separate. All right? So that's gonna be the final consistency that we need. I might be able to fit one more cream puff with this recipe, straight down into the center. All right? So when we get these in the oven, they're gonna be 4 times their size. They'll puff up really nicely and big, 375 degrees until they are totally dry in the middle. It's an egg batter, so if the eggs aren't cooked, they're gonna be kind of runny, kind of gooey in the center. It's gonna make the pastries fall, so we wanna cook them very nice, very crispy. All right, so away into the oven, 25 minutes. We'll take another photo when it comes back.